There is little doubt that the space race is moving at its fastest speed yet. Companies in the United States such as SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Rocket Lab are making incredible advances in new rocket technology on a regular basis. It is now typical to meet people who have forgotten that, at one point in time, the space race was between countries, rather than between privately owned space companies. The space race between the then Soviet Union and the United States, if you recall, was one of the greatest space races that fueled the fire of scientific advancements and really pushed the boundaries of rocket science. Although that has now ended, we will see in this video how these races are likely to resume. Welcome to TechSpace. In this video, we'll expose the newly released Russia nuclear starship that is ready to outsmart SpaceX Starship. Kindly stick to the video to know how Russia came about the tech concept of this kind of starship. The Russian space program began to take shape shortly after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991. Roscosmos, the Russian national space agency with functions similar to NASA in the United States, was formed as a result of the dissolution. Roscosmos, unlike its predecessor, lacked the finances and political clout to go toe-to-toe with its American counterpart. With the advent of private space firms such as SpaceX, which is now making significant improvements in space technology, such as reusable rockets and considerably more economical yet powerful engines, we see Roscosmos gradually being phased out of the space picture. Let's take a deeper look at how Russia has failed in the space race since the fall of the Soviet Union, as well as their frantic attempts to compete with private space industry titans, SpaceX. To comprehend why Russia's space program has been reduced to a mere ghost of its former self, let's go back to the 1990s, any time after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, when the Russian Federation was definitely tight of cash, after giving up a lot of its resources to its newly established states, which had more immediate needs than throwing money into space exploration. Although the Russian space program experienced various financial challenges, including a drop in cash flow, the main issue it faced was that, unlike NASA, it did not operate under a single central organization. It had more of a multi-centered structure, with numerous entities managing various aspects of the space program. Separate design bureaus and a separate council of engineers directed the entire process throughout the USSR era. So when the Russian Federation was declared, it appeared very impossible to assume control of the old Soviet space program until then President Boris Yeltsin issued an executive decree establishing a new central organization called the Russian Space Agency. The newly formed agency then faced a slew of challenges as a result of the disruptive start and financial constraints. In order to keep its space program afloat, Russia's space agency ventured into other space endeavors, such as commercial satellite launches and even space tourism. As a result, scientific achievements such as interplanetary probes and astronomical discoveries have been neglected. Despite its tight ties to national defense, it was unable to obtain the necessary funding. The Russian Space Agency was later reformed in 1999, and its name was changed to Roscosmos in 2004. Roscosmos was a critical component of the International Space Station program, allocating over half of its funding to the crewed space program in 2009. When compared to other countries that participated in the International Space Station program, this figure was quite large. Russia had made tremendous efforts in recent years to build and grow a private space sector or one to support Roscosmos within the nation. So far, emerging enterprises such as Arsenal Design Bureau have collaborated with Roscosmos to create nuclear propulsion rocket systems. These firms are, without a question, making enormous progress in spaceflight, but they are still far behind their US counterparts, such as SpaceX and Blue Origin. Let's take a deeper look at the incredible strides Russia is making in order to compete with the more mature private space businesses in the United States, particularly SpaceX. The ZEUS'S program is Russia's concept for building a multi-planetary rocket system fueled by nuclear power. That is a rocket fueled entirely by nuclear reactor engines. How secure could that be? According to a TASS article, Alexander BLOSHENKO, the executive director for long-term programs and science at Roscosmos, provided facts about the ZEUS'S program during a new knowledge event conducted in Moscow. BLOSHENKO stated that the whole duration of the flight mission is projected to be 15 months, and that they are partnering with the Russian Academy of Science to precisely determine mission ballistics and payload capacity. According to TASS, Roscosmos has already signed a contract with the private Russian engineering firm Arsenal Design Bureau to begin developing the concept of a nuclear-powered rocket propulsion system. The project is expected to cost $57.08 million. BLOSHENKO described the planned mission in this manner. The nuclear-powered space tank will initially deliver a spacecraft to the moon. After then, the spacecraft separates from the nuclear rocket and lands on the moon's surface. Following safe delivery, the rocket will go to Venus, where it will use gravity to hurl itself towards Jupiter's satellites. These, in my opinion, are truly audacious and lofty goals that are expected to be met by 2030. This is feasible, given the space industry's rapid technological improvements. The nuclear reactor that powers the spacecraft is planned to ignite only when it reaches a safe distance away from the atmosphere, around 600 to 800 kilometers in orbit, to protect against natural decay during rocket re-entry. All of these indicates to Russia's ambition to compete with, and likely beat, U.S. space companies, especially SpaceX, in the fight to dominate space travel. The strategy is primarily focused on the development of a new nuclear-powered propulsion system, a power source that has yet to be used in the aerospace sector. This is in stark contrast to SpaceX rockets, which employ a methane-oxygen mixture as fuel. This begs the question of why Russia would consider utilizing nuclear energy to power rockets in the first place. Is it all part of a desperate attempt to reclaim the spotlight in the space industry? The rocket has been in development since 2009, according to Vladimir Koshlikov, the bead of the Saltik Research Center in Moscow. If Russia is successful with the concept, they will eventually launch a crewed mission to Mars that will last only a few weeks, as opposed to SpaceX's Spaceship, which is expected to linger in space for months. This will also take a significant step forward in Moscow's intentions to construct a Russian colony on the moon, similar to what SpaceX hopes to achieve on Mars. The use of nuclear reactors rather than carbon-based fuels such as kerosene will allow the rockets to travel quicker and eliminate the need for cleaning or repairing parts before their return journey to Earth. According to Koshlikov, the turnaround time for a stopover on Mars might be as little as 48 hours, reducing the time it takes to go from Earth to other planetary bodies. Another method Roscosmos could outperform SpaceX is by taking advantage of the merits of nuclear energy over solar power in orbit. Most solar-powered crafts get their energy from sources such as solar batteries and unstable atoms known as radioisotopes. To generate electricity, NASA's Juno spacecraft at Jupiter uses huge solar panels. Although solar power is a fantastic source of energy, it gets less effective as the spaceship drifts further away from the Sun. To withstand the harsh environment of interstellar space, NASA's first Voyager spacecraft used radioisotopes, which are typically referred to as nuclear batteries. However, this is in no way comparable to the use of nuclear reactors. Nuclear reactors can exist in the coldest, darkest portions of the solar system without needing sunlight, and their dependability can persist for lengthy periods of time. BLOSHENKO has said that the first mission, dubbed ZEUS, will launch in 2030 and operate for 15 months, delivering cargo to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter along the way. If you ask, 2030 is rather far behind SpaceX's spacecraft. This technology will undoubtedly help Russia establish its own national space station by the end of 2025. Despite these lofty goals, ZEUS is still on Earth, awaiting a test in 2030. According to the Russian Space Agency, for everything that is yet to be revealed, the space tug and nuclear power plant are merely concepts. Do you think this new nuclear-powered Russia rocket will outsmart SpaceX Starship? Please do well to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Until next time, please like, share, subscribe. And while you're still around, why don't you click on one of those flashing videos on the screen for more content?